Iowa City. One of our favorite places to visit here on Brewed. But who knew that Iowa had its own prohibition well before the 18th Amendment took effect in 1920? History even tells of long abandoned caves hidden below downtown Iowa City, where beer was brewed in secret.
That is crazy.
Not only are we giving you a look inside those caves, we're getting a preview of Death of a Brewer, a feature film based on Iowa City's own beer mafia, set to go into production this summer.
I'm descending what's called the ladder of death on this episode of Brewed. Oh God, here we go. It just seems like when you're at the beach and you're reading one of those beach novels, and it says right on the cover, soon to be a major motion picture, there's something about that that's kind of thrilling when you're reading it. You're actually writing it. It's written. You're making this movie. Tell us about this movie that will tell the story of beer and murder in Iowa City.
Yeah, who knew that all happened here?
Right.
Yeah, so I discovered the story after living here 25 plus years. John's Grocery and Doug Alverhasky had been kind of the keeper of the history for many, many years, and I was lucky enough to go on a cave tour, which is a remaining cave under the only brewery building that remains. And it doesn't have a brewery in it now, but you can still go down into the caves if you're lucky enough to. It's not like it's open to the public. Once I heard even just the outline of the story and saw the caves and realized many of the buildings I've been walking by since I was 18 actually have a much older history, that I was obsessed with telling the story to Iowa City needs to know it, and now maybe the whole world's going to get to know it.
That's what's crazy is I guarantee most people in Iowa City have no idea of the rich history, and I mean the story is crazy.
It really is.
There was a prohibition in Iowa well before there was a prohibition anywhere else. That's something that's an unfortunate fact of Iowa history. We kind of led the nation in the temperance movement.
We did. Iowa, Kansas, and Maine were the big three with the temperance movements, and we had done a couple other prohibitions, I think, that didn't last real long, but ours in our story was in 1884.
Right.
Yeah, which is
that's
way before the country. And it didn't go very well here. We should have learned a lesson.
Right. I mean, there's a delicious irony in the fact that now we make some of the best beer in America. But I'm not stretching any truths here when I say that, like, this was literal warfare.
It really was.
I mean,
it got very violent. It toward the end when the enforcement started and the prohibition really went into effect. It didn't go over very well. That businesses were taken away at the stroke of a government pen.
This is not, make this very clear, this movie is not going to be a documentary.
No.
Although I'd watch that documentary. But this is going to be a drama set in that incredible setting. So, without ruining the movie, I mean, spoiler alert, it's activated here. What's it going to be about?
Well, it just tells the story of our three big brewers. We had three breweries on the north side, but they became what was known as the Beer Mafia against the temperance movement that was really strong in town.
In this case, is there some sort of unholy alliance?
The unholy alliance was brought together by beer and religion.
Okay.
And they had a common enemy, the temperance group.
Okay.
But other than that, they were like different companies, different owners, different heritages. One's Bohemian, others are German.
Right.
And they weren't like friends.
They did not get along.
No, but then they had a common enemy and decided we better fight this or we're all going down.
Like strange bedfellows,
Absolutely.
Right? The enemy of my enemy is my
That's
friend.
Right.
So the movie that you have written, it's also kind of a love story?
It is, yep. So my book told the story, what happened, and now a screenwriter, Mokotsi Rukundo, has turned that into a screenplay.
Okay.
And there's a central character that is a Methodist who drinks and falls in love with the preacher's daughter, and so there's a love story amidst of all this violence and chaos.
But that's all based on stuff that really happened?
Not entirely.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess we'll get into that.
That's why it's a historical fiction.
I see.
It's made on educated guesses and people that were, commonly what would have happened. But the main brewers are all real characters. The main events all really happened.
How do you even get about doing research for something like this, something that happened in the 1880s? And I can't imagine that they were, taking copious notes, because a lot of what they were doing might have not been on the up and up.
Right. There is some history on it. The State Historical Society has some, and some photographs. The Capitol building was here at the time already and had already moved to Des Moines, and the university was here. Okay. So this was a bustling town, and we had, the medical school was already underway. And so there is history on all of that, but the details of what happened, there's German newspapers, there's Czech newspapers, so there's some documentation through that. There was a German professor that did a bunch of research, a former state archaeologist that did a bunch, and I built on what they had done.
Awesome. Well, listen, great job on doing all the research and bringing this story to life. And now let's find out more about the movie, about the historical fiction part, yeah? Mokotsi, you are the filmmaker behind the drama of the movie. You're the guy who's making the historical watchable.
Exactly.
Because, this is going to be a love story, a murder tale, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. Yeah. We all learn a lesson at the end of the movie. I hope I'm not ruining it for you. Tell me how you came on board with this project.
Well, I was filming a movie in Iowa a couple of years back called East and Middle West, and I got connected with Steve, who had just finished his book. I was completely blown away with the world that he created, with there being a group called the Beer Mafia, which who knew?
Right.
And I always love stories where there's conflict that is just below the surface. So as a screenwriter, it's like, how do you pull that out?
How long does it take you to get into the book where you realize there's a motion picture in this?
Steve wrote a really great character, and in the book he's in there for a certain amount. But the second that I read that, I'm like, oh, he's our lens into the temperance movement. He's our lens into what Iowa City is.
Right. Because he knows as much as we do about this.
Exactly.
He knows just as much as we know about this, and we learn it all through his eyes.
Exactly. And I love stories where, one, there's always a love interest, but then I also like it where the pressure is being put on the character as much as possible, and they have to make a decision. So Death of a Brewer is really where a double agent has to make sense of the world he's thrown in.
The movie now is, everything's written, everything's ready to go. I know you've done something that you guys call a proof of concept. What does that mean?
So proof of concept is a little bit of a mix of what I like to call like a trailer and then the general beats of what make the story.
Right.
So if you watch it in that little 10 minutes, you get an aesthetic of what the main problem is, who our main character is, and what the potential for the journey could be.
So you show this to people and then they go, oh, I want to see that movie. How do we make that happen?
Right, exactly. We've packaged it with Steve's book, proof of concept, and then the screenplay. And together that really gives people as much information, and actually more so, it gives them the enthusiasm to actually jump on board.
Cannot wait to see what you and all the talented people on this project bring to life.
Thank you.
It's such a great story. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the caves that we have, they are the original fermentation cellars and lagering cellars of the Union Brewing Company.